reflects. Jesus.
Members of the audience are reminded disruptions will not be permitted while the committee conducts its business. Capitol Police are asked to remove the individuals from the hearing room.
In making his voice heard, ice cream giant Ben and Jerry's co-founder, Ben Cohen, dragged out of RFK Jr.'s Senate hearing yesterday to protest Congress's continued support for Israel as they wage war on Gaza. Not going to be quiet about it. Cohen was one of many protesters who went to disrupt a Senate Health Committee hearing where HHS Secretary RFK Jr. was advocating for Trump's budget for the next fiscal year. Now, Cohen, we can tell you, was charged with crowding, obstructing, or incommoding, the Capitol Police said in a statement. That's a misdemeanor that can be punishable by up to 90 days in prison, $500 fine if convicted. 6 other people were also arrested on charges that included assaulting a police officer and resisting arrest, says the New York Times. Before we get into more details, Cenk, initial thoughts on the protest?
Love it. I think Ben Cohen's an American hero. I literally think they're going to make a movie about this. Not that just that scene, but about the resistance within America on this issue of Israel. So I've got a lot more to say about that because there's so much more to that resistance. And now one of our members wrote in something that I find interesting. The world has begun resistance. And so if ever there was a time to protest, this is it. I love it, but let's give you more details and we'll talk about it.
All right, well, if you're wondering why this happened at a health committee hearing, there is a specific reason for that.
Move down the hallway.
Ben, why are you getting arrested?
Move down the hallway. If you stop, you will be arrested.
Poor kids in Gaza by buying bombs and pays for it by kicking kids off Medicaid in the US.
Keep going down. Keep going down the hallway.
So in cuffs, being dragged around like that, the answer was perfectly clear and made perfect sense. He goes into a little bit more detail, which of course we'll get into in just a moment. But first, we need to note this type of activism from Cohen is not surprising. Both Cohen and the other half of Ben and Jerry's, Jerry Greenfield, they've been extremely open about their political stances for some time now. And this includes criticizing Israel's occupation of course, the West Bank. So again, speaking up. Watch this.
What is it about Bobby Kennedy that you believe is worth getting arrested for?
It didn't really have anything to do with Bobby Kennedy. What it had to do with is that Congress has been cutting money for Medicaid, the health care for poor kids, and they're using the money they save doing that to bomb other poor kids in Gaza. And now, there's this. They're halting all the food aid that's going in, so they're starving the people of Gaza.
So these founders could just be chilling right now. They don't have to do this. They feel compelled to do it. The two aren't as involved with the company anymore following the sale to Unilever in 2000, but they are still very outspoken along with the company. Ben & Jerry's in 2021 said it would end sales in the Israeli occupied West Bank because it was inconsistent with the company's values. Co-founders, who are both Jewish, wrote in a 2021 New York Times opinion essay that they supported the company's decision. Additionally, Ben & Jerry's last year sued Unilever over accusations that it had fired the ice cream brand's chief executive because of its social activism and had censored the ice cream maker's attempts to express support for Palestinian refugees. Now, Cohen, who has since been released from police custody, also went on Chris Cuomo's show last night to discuss the protest in more detail. Here's more.
All right, let's talk Israel. Yes, I understand what you're talking about with Medicaid. We'll see what they do, but Israel, Yes, what's happening in Gaza is horrible. They just agreed to restart the aid, and I've been critical of the stopping of aid and how necessary it is. But don't you have to give some space for the fact that Hamas, a terror organization, is still holding 6 people just about, and that they need to give them back if they want to have high ground, don't they?
Yes, the hostages need to be returned, but that's no justification to kill tens of thousands of children, old people, mothers, fathers, people just like us.
Well, just like us, some, yes. Others are aligned with a terror organization.
Maybe most are just like us. Things did take a little bit of a turn when Cuomo began defending Israel a bit.
If it were America and they had 59 of our people and they were a terror organization, do you think the United States would be doing anything different than Israel is?
Boy, I would hope they'd be doing something different, because what's going on in Israel right now is genocide with our bombs. The American people have become complicit in the genocide that Israel is engaging in. And if it weren't for us providing the bombs, they wouldn't be able to do it.
Do you pace things? Do you allow any aid the way Israel has if it's really a genocide? We've seen what that looks like in other situations. It doesn't look like this.
Boy, it sure looks like it to me. The major thing here is about a humanitarian disaster. People are being killed. Journalists are being targeted.
Well, that I don't know.
They didn't do anything wrong.
I agree that it is a humanitarian disaster there.
Making it happen.
And there needs to be a lot more aid. Has to be a lot more aid. And I respect you raising your voice.
Cenk, Chris Cuomo is not stupid, okay? I've seen him have some fine hours with his legal cap on, his investigative cap on, maybe at the other place a little bit. I just love the way he just gives a one-sentence disclaimer about, the aid needs to be restarted. But it's just fascinating to me. It was almost felt like he was reading talking points. And I love how Mr. Cohen stood his ground and made perfect points. Even Cuomo pretending that he doesn't know about the journalists who've been targeted. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's totally ridiculous. So look, I'm gonna get to Ben Cohen in a second. I'm gonna get to the international protests in a second. First on Chris. So I like Chris as a person, and let's keep in mind that Chris had Ben Cohen on when others didn't, right? And in some of the parts we didn't show, he acknowledged that Ben was right about some things. Okay, so that's your caveat, and it's an important one. Okay, so now having said that, almost everything Chris said was totally wrong. So number one, on the journalist, more journalists killed in Gaza than all other conflicts in the world combined. Most killed in any war zone since they've started tracking journalists killed. And I know Israel's excuses. Oh, we're the worst army in the world. We just can't shoot straight. Oh, did we kill another journalist with a headshot from a sniper from hundreds of yards away? Oh, I guess that was collateral damage. Oh, did I see that he had a press? Anyway, for Israeli supporters, they'll make any defense, any excuse. Oh, if Bashar al-Assad had killed more journalists, if Putin had killed more journalists than all of the other conflicts in the world combined, we would all rightfully say Assad and Putin are monsters. But when Netanyahu does and everything is ba. So what is this? Oh, we have to give them some space? No, we don't have to give them space for a genocide. We don't have to do that at all. So 59 people, terrible. Of course, everybody wants the hostages back. Does that justify killing about 18,000 children? No, it doesn't justify it even 1%. So if you said to me, you got 59 of your closest family members stuck somewhere, would you like to murder 18,000 children to try to get them back? Well, by the way, they're not even trying to get them back. Our own envoy, a Jewish American, Steve Witkoff, said Israel is the one that doesn't want peace. So that we had to go around them to get the American Israeli kid back home, and I'm glad we did. But they're blocking peace. Space for what? Space for what? Ethnic cleansing, genocide? No, stop making excuses for a monstrous state. So, oh no, Israel's our special ally. Special ally for what? Why? Why are they our special ally? Oh, well, because what? Because what? If any other country had done this, we would be dead set against it. So, I mean, it was, well, if America had 59 hostages, we would also commit a genocide and we'd also murder 53,000 people, 2/3 of whom are women and children. Yeah, we might. Does that make it a right thing? No. No, it makes it terrible, and I hope to God we wouldn't do that. I hope we'd be moral enough to do that. So look, he says, well, it doesn't look like it. They allow some aid in. That's actually literally not true. 72 days now where they have not allowed any aid in. They're literally starving them to death. If any other dictator in the world was starving people to death, you see little children starving to death, we would rightfully call them a terrorist and one of the worst monsters of our lifetime. But when it comes to Israel, there's always special rules. And so is this what a genocide looks like? Yes, it's exactly what it looks like. In fact, I've studied genocides, and Srebrenica, they killed 6,000 Muslims. Here, there's 53,000 dead. And in Srebrenica, you know what they did? They blocked aid, but then they would send in food so every once in a while, because they said it was easier to attract the Muslims to the food once they were starving, and then you could kill them easier. Now go back and watch the tape of the flour massacre where they start killing people trying to get the food off the truck. I mean, it is textbook genocide. And in Srebrenica, and by the way, in almost every other genocide, including the Armenian genocide, what do? They start forced marches, ethnic cleansing. Oh, we're not killing you. Oh, you happened to die on the way. I mean, we killed a lot of you on the way, and we moved you out and stole your land. But oh, golly gee, we were just doing it for self-defense. That's what they say literally every time. But so they've got to stop making excuses for Israel. So if we had said in the middle of that genocide or the Rwandan genocide or fill in the blank on any country you like, well, to be fair to the Serbs, we've got to give them some space in Bosnia and Srebrenica to slaughter some more Muslims, because the Serbs are doing self-defense, and the Muslims took 59 people or whatever they took, so they had to do it. Or, all right, I'm not getting into or. Okay, back to Ben Cohen, the hero. I love this guy, and so I'll say it. I think they're going to do a Schindler's List kind of movie about the brave Jewish Americans who stood up against Israel. And so Ben Cohen is among them, and his partner is Robert Greenwald. What a beautiful, angelic human being. So he's the head of Brave New Films. They're doing a movie about how Israel has killed more journalists in Gaza than anywhere else. And if Chris doesn't know that, that's okay. I might get caught on a fact here or two, right? But A, you could look it up, and B, you should watch the Brave New Films movie about how many journalists that they've murdered there, brought to you by Robert Greenwald and Brave New Films, let alone Dave Smith and Glenn Greenwald and Bernie Sanders and 1,000 other Jewish Americans who are saying, please stop, this is so terrible. It's terrible for all of us and for America because we're Americans, and America shouldn't fund a genocide and ethnic cleansing. Stop making excuses. All right, finally, one of our members wrote in from Japan. Trump lawyers said on TYT.com, demonstrations and protests here in Japan are getting larger against what Netanyahu's Israeli government forces are doing to the Palestinian people in Gaza, and Trump, US support for this. There's demonstrations now all across the world, and it is not because the Israeli propaganda will be like, oh yes, the Japanese are well-known anti-Semites. That's the only reason they're doing it. Stop with the excuses. So no, everybody's sick of it. And you know what, whether you're Japan, Norway, Finland, Ireland, wherever you are, don't wait for America. America is unfortunately at this point doing whatever Israel commands. And we're the ones who funded all this. So don't wait for us. Start sending in ships. Say, this is the government of Japan and we are here to feed the Palestinians. If the Israelis fire on our ship, we will declare war on them. That's not us declaring it. It will be Israel declaring war on Japan, Finland, Ireland, whoever wants to send ships. You do not fire on our ships. They only have food, and we're gonna feed those people, and we're not gonna let you starve them to death, you goddamn monsters who run the Israeli government today. Sharon.
Wow. I agree with you. I look forward to taking in documentary, and I think it takes courage. You know, I saw an interview with Senator Sanders, not surprising, yesterday, and he was saying the same things that he's been consistently saying, and that our own eyes are seeing. And you're right. I don't want to undermine or demean Chris Cuomo, but look, we're journalists. We've been journalists. He's been all over the world in these regions. It's not about him, but there has to be vigorous pushback. They're at every turn, from NYU not giving someone a diploma because they don't want children and women murdered and everyone murdered in Gaza, to the food not going in. And I saw a little girl hobbling on one leg that had been blown off, wandering like a lot of kids, if they're lucky, looking for food.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets its wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.